What is going on, guys? It is Daniel Wright, and you're here listening to another episode of Paving the Way. If you're watching, you can see we got a new little setup going on here. The area is still a little under construction, so don't mind the extra holes in the wall. Yours truly is a much better podcaster than a contractor or carpenter. So it is what it is. But nonetheless, guys, I'm happy you're joining me this week. I hope your week is off to a fantastic start, and I hope you got a lot of great plans for the rest of this week. But nonetheless, guys, I want to talk a little bit today about a topic that got brought up to me over the weekend, talking to a fellow peer of mine about, just when it comes to building our business, figuring out how to build a platform, build an opportunity for people, to attract them to want to stay and not just be a stepping stone. Some companies are built to be stepping stones, which is okay. Other companies are built to be long-term homes. So I want to just give a little bit of my perspective on kind of the conversation that I had with him, and then also just kind of maybe how that can relate to you, where you're at, and what you got going on. So with that being said, let's get started. All right, guys, welcome back. Hey, I appreciate you again for tuning in today. It does mean a lot. We're 126 episodes in, and if you've watched every single one of them, please let me know. I got a reward for you. It's not very often that you get people as dedicated as you. So if you're 126 episodes in, you've watched all of them, reach out to me, drop a comment, shoot me a message. I got something for you. It might just be a big old thank you, but nonetheless, it's something. So guys, like I said, we're working on building out kind of a new studio here. So if you're watching, like I said, you can see behind me, we may or may not have a couple of holes next to the screen behind me because we thought we had the screen in the right place and we didn't. So, it is what it is. So if you ask my wife, I'm very good at learning how to patch holes. I'm not very good at determining where exactly to put them on the walls. So if you come to my house and some of the walls look like they might have been Swiss cheese at one point, I don't know what to tell you. I didn't sign up to be a carpenter. It is what it is. So, but nonetheless, guys, we're rocking and rolling this week. We are, getting into that time of the year where it's like late summer, early fall, where things are just going at a very high velocity. Things are going fast. They're going good. They're going far. They're going big. And it's taking everybody to make it happen. So I wanted to hop on today to talk a little bit about a topic that got brought up to me over the weekend by one of my peers. He called me on Sunday, actually reached out. We caught up, whatever it was. And the topic that he was talking about was, how do we build ourselves as a company, specifically the maintenance side of our company, right? The pavement maintenance. How do we build ourselves into a company that people want to come in and really dive into and stay there? Because in our industry, you've got the maintenance side of stuff for pavement and you've got the building or the reconstructing side of pavement, which, that's the paving, right? That's the tearing it all out, operating the big equipment, the dump trucks, skid steers, excavators, mills, so on and so forth, all the big fancy stuff. And on the maintenance side of it, some people would say it's the less sexy side. I personally maybe have a little bit of a biased opinion because I've never owned a paver. I've never owned a mill. I've never operated any of those machines. But I like the fact of getting to put the icing on the cake, right? You may pave this whole big old parking lot, this big old area, and it may, look all nice and black and beautiful. But if you don't put the parking lines on it right, if you don't put the pavement markings, the directional arrows, everything like that on it correctly, then it really doesn't matter because you just have a big old blank canvas. So I think, I have a bias to that. And so it's a little bit of a challenge for me to I guess explain to somebody why they would want to stay in the maintenance side of it, but I like it. But nonetheless, from a business and a leadership development standpoint, I brought up a few topics to him, right? So one of the things that I talked about, and it was the most important thing, is, well, on the maintenance side of your business, is there anywhere for the people to go? Right? You say you want to attract the individuals who want to come in here, they want to build, they want to grow and develop into the next, best version of themselves, into a leader, so on and so forth. But they always seem to want to jump ship and go to the paving side or the, another branch or division or another company, whatever it may be. And I asked him, I said, well, is there really any place for them to go? And he said, well, yeah, if we grow it. I said, okay, well, have you explained that? Have you cast that vision? Have you let them know what that future looks like? And so that kind of led us into a conversation that we went down a lot of different rabbit holes, which I won't bore you with all of those details. But nonetheless, is today I just want to talk about the importance of having and casting the vision, right? Because if you're a leader, whether you're the founder, the owner, the CEO, the president, whatever it may be, if you're a leader and you have all these great plans, these ideas, and the vision of where you're wanting to take your team and where you're wanting to take your organization, but you don't actually cast that vision, if you don't communicate, tell, explain that vision to the team, well, what good is having the vision in the first place? It's biblical. Where there's no vision, the people will perish. And so it's our jobs as the leaders to cast that vision. What does casting that vision look like? Well, for us, it comes in a couple different ways, right? We have our weekly meetings with our leadership team, who's in charge of each department of our company. We have our weekly meetings, and that's where I get to cast the vision directly to them. And I get to talk about things that are coming up. So if, maybe there's an obstacle in one department, cool, let's talk about that. How's that fit in? How do we have to get around that to get where we're going as a company? What do we need to overcome? What do we need to make happen? And then, we have our weekly meetings, so we get to have the opportunity to cast the vision. And then from there, the goal is those leaders then continue to waterfall that vision down to their teams on a daily basis. So that way they can walk away from the weekly meetings with that refreshed, that refined, that redefined vision of where we're going as a company, and then make sure to communicate that message onto the team. From there, we also have our monthly company meetings. This is something we started this year, and I love it. It's an opportunity for us to get the whole company in one room, minimally once a month, and we just get to go over things as a company. We go kind of through each department, anything that anybody's got going on, any questions, so on and so forth. And then I try to typically end the meeting with some vision casting, right? Sometimes it could be about growth. Sometimes it could be about core values. Sometimes it could be about just the appreciation of the team members that we have. Whatever it is, though, it's about where we're going, like where we've come from, where we're at, and where we're going. And I think, people have to hear that regularly, guys. You may think that you sound like a broken record. And I heard recently that there's been studies that show that if you haven't said it at least 21 times, your team members don't actually understand it. And it's not at any fault of their own. It's because they've got a lot of things going on in their life, right? They've got a job. Imagine that. They're working with you. So they probably have a lot to handle, a lot to process, a lot to intake. So they've got a life. They've got a family. They've got their financial things. They've got their house things. They've got their health and wellness things, whatever it may be. They've got a life also. And so you got to make sure that you're continuing to cast the vision, continuing to share with them where you guys are going. But more importantly than that, guys, you have to make sure you're putting your money where your mouth is. The rubber meets the road. Because you can get up there and you can preach a dream all you want. You can tell them all about it, how great it's going to be, how much money they're going to make, how much opportunity they're going to have, how much this and that, blah, 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 whatever it may be. That's all fantastic. But if you're not actually putting your actions, into play, your words into actions, none of it matters because they're going to call your bluff. So you have to make sure that you have the vision, you're casting the vision, and then you're bringing that vision to reality. We've all heard the saying, actions speak louder than words, and they do. They absolutely do. I just had a conversation with a good buddy of mine on his podcast. Shout out to Bill Ryman at the Real Build with Bill Ryman. You can find him on all the platforms. But we were just on his show, and we were talking about, the fact that my favorite day of the week is Mondays. A lot of people dread Mondays, right? They're coming off the weekend. They're tired, might be hungover, whatever it is. They're dreading Mondays, the start of the work week. Well, I personally love it. And I love it because as much as I enjoy the weekends, right? I enjoy being on the golf course. I enjoy going out on the lake or whatever we're doing, hanging out around the house with Kelsey. Any of that stuff. I love it. It's all great. But I've learned how to take and harness that momentum of that enjoyment that I have over the weekend into Monday. And guys, what we're trying to build here is exciting. What we're trying to build in our organization and our company and our team is exciting. And so I was telling them that that's my favorite day of the week. That's what I like. I'm ready to get started. And he asked me, he goes, well, how do you convey that type of momentum and excitement to the team? And I told him, I said, Bill, that's something I'm really trying to work on and get figured out because, the way our company works is we're all working at different times. The operations team comes in around 6:30 a.m. and they're out the door by 7:30. The office team comes in around 8, and then they're here, throughout the day. And then myself, I start my meeting or my days with meetings that are typically off site. So sometimes I don't get to the office till early afternoon. So we're all moving around in different directions at different paces, so on and so forth. And so what I try to do is just be consistent, and that's gotten a lot better for me over the last year, ever since Kelsey joined the company and she started learning more about it, what we're doing, and helped to take some of that load off of my plate. I would venture to guess that if you were to ask the team, how is Daniel's personality, attitude, demeanor, whatever it is now versus when it was before Kelsey joined the company, I would venture to say that people would say it's better. And honestly, it's because I'm not carrying 100% of the weight anymore. Kelsey has always been fantastic about carrying some of the load and listening to me and supporting me and everything that I've ever wanted to do. But there's a different way that she's carrying it now, and that we're getting to carry that load together as a couple, as partners, as husband and wife, whatever it may be. And so I told Bill, when he asked how I convey that momentum to the team and get them, bought in on that too, to enjoy Mondays just as much as I do. I said, honestly, man, it's just being consistent. It's being consistent and casting the vision and telling them where we're going and being excited about it and showing them that, no matter what, even if it's hard stuff that we're going through, we're still excited. We're still pushing. We're still grinding. And I think the more that we show up consistently as a leader, the more bought in our team is going to be, because you can't argue with it. You say, man, this guy's the same every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, whatever it may be. That's not saying that we got to be perfect every day, right? That's not saying that we always got to, throw on a mask if we're having a tough day or a tough time or whatever it might be. But we still have to show up. We still have to push. We still have to do what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it, because those people count on us. And it's an obligation that we have to those who believe in us and who are following our vision and following our dreams. Because the goal is, guys, not to just have the people follow the dream. It's to have them building their dreams within yours. I've had it said to me before that your dream for your organization, your vision for your company has to be big enough that everybody who works in that company, their vision and their dream for their life can fit inside of it and be fulfilled, right? That's one of the top reasons I believe people will leave organizations, is because they feel that they've maxed out their dreams and their visions for their own life in that organization. They're looking for something bigger, something better, something more than what they're being able to accomplish where they're at currently. And so if you're not continuing to expand that, continuing to grow it, continuing to develop it, then you can't blame the people for not wanting to stay. You can't blame them for wanting to look for something bigger, something better. I believe that we were, internally wired to always be looking for something more, biblically, yes, you should be content with what you have. Yes, being content is one thing, but being complacent is another. I don't think there's anything about being complacent, when it comes to how we're supposed to live our lives. Being content and appreciative, absolutely. Ed Milet likes to coin the phrase blissful dissatisfaction. You should be appreciative for what you have. You should be, joyful for the blessings you've been given, but you shouldn't be satisfied with them. You shouldn't just call it good, because if you're living, if you're breathing, if you're walking, if you're talking, you've got more to accomplish. We weren't put on this earth just to hit a certain point and stop and then just live out the rest of our life exactly like that. So as leaders, it's our obligation. We have to have a vision. We have to have a big vision. And we have to have one that's big enough for all the people that we're trying to recruit to get on our teams to fulfill their vision and their dreams for their life inside of it. And then from there, guys, we have to cast that vision. We have to communicate it. We have to relay it day in, day out, whether it's through an avenue like this, such as a podcast, whether it's through weekly meetings, company meetings, one-on-ones, reviews, or just passing in the hallway or on the job site. We've got to cast the vision, because the team needs to be reminded that we're still on track, that we're still going where we said we're going to go, that their dreams that they told us about when they came on board and why they left their old company and why they are so excited about coming to your company, that you're still working on making those happen. You're still working on paving the way for them to have those dreams come true and have those opportunities be available to them, because there's nothing more disheartening than unfulfilled promises. So did you promise your team members something that you're not living up to? Did you sell them a bill of goods? Did you sell them something that sounded good, sounded exciting, sounded fun and fancy and, whatever it may be, and now all of a sudden, they're a year or so in and nothing's really happened? Could be why they're leaving. Could be why they're not happy. Could be why they're not trying hard. So you got to make sure that you have that line of communication open. And guys, the most important part to drive it home is put your actions where your words are. Put your money where your mouth is, because that's what your people are going to believe. When you tell them there's going to be opportunities for promotion, figure out how to build a company big enough that you can promote people. When you tell them that your company is going to be expanding, you better figure out how to expand. When you tell them that there's going to be raises or bonuses or whatever it may be, you better make it happen. They'll give you some grace for a little while. Sure. We all should do that. That's just part of life. But after a while, if nothing's changed, they're going to call you on your crap, and they should. So you got to make sure that you have that vision, you cast that vision, and you put that vision into action, because if you don't, you're going nowhere. And you're going to be calling me, wondering why people don't want to stay. Not saying that's why this guy called me. It was just a conversation that we had. But nonetheless, I wanted to share that with you guys, because I think this time of year, as we wind down the summer into the fall, into Q4, a lot of us are kind of thinking about, how's this year been? Are we happy? If we're working in a company, are we happy working here? If we're leading the company, are we happy with where it's come, where it's going? How's the year going to close out? What type of things are coming up? What do we want next year to look like? It's crazy to think we're already talking about 2025, guys, but we have to make sure we're staying ahead of the game. As leaders, we have to be one step ahead. We constantly have to be pushing the limits, be on the cutting edge, and make sure that we are setting the pace for everybody that believes in us, because we owe it to them. So I hope that has a little bit of benefit for you today. If it does, I just ask that you share it. It's a pretty simple process here on the world of social media. You just hit the share button. It doesn't take a lot of effort, or drop a comment in it, tag somebody who you think might benefit from it. That's what we're here to do, guys. We're here to try and pave the way to make the next phase of life for the next person a little bit easier. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We owe it to those who've gone before us to pave the way for the ones who come behind us. And that's what we're doing here. So I appreciate your help in this. I appreciate you tuning in this week. I look forward to seeing how our studio continues to develop and evolve. But until then, I'll see you next week.